Hey everyone, welcome back to FSi DFS. I'm McKinley 412. Hope you're all having a wonderful week as we head into the weekend here. A big, monstrous 13-game slate here on DraftKings, and Fanduel, I'm assuming, is similar. And a lot of great pitching options, in my opinion. I feel like this has been one of the better pitching slates that we have seen since the start of the season. And yeah, before we dive in, please hit that subscribe button. It really does help us out. And trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about before going in. Oh, weather. Have it over here. Milwaukee at Baltimore. Baltimore is looking a little dicey with the rain threat. Cleveland is also looking at a little bit of a rain threat. Boston, it's cold there. It's going to be in like the low 40s. So pitching weather, we love that. However, I feel like the big story of the slate weather-wise is going to be the wind. There are a handful of cities. Let's see if I can recall them. It was Baltimore, Cleveland, New York, Chicago. There was one more, I can't remember, but they're all showing around like 20-mile-an-hour winds. Some are blowing straight out, some of them a little more left to right. So we'll have to be monitoring that as we get a little bit closer to lock. You can see I don't have the bats listed here. I'm still kind of recovering from this illness that I've had for about a week or so, and honestly I need to get some sleep, so I will fill that in tomorrow. I'll get some more information as well, but come back, I might even type up like a YouTube comment just talking about the bats a little bit more, but for now we'll dive into these pitchers a little bit more in depth. So like I said, a lot of great pitchers on this slate. Yamamoto, Gossman, Fried, even Miller. And then I really like the mid-tier on this slate as well. And even some of these low guys are in nice positions, high strikeout upside, or just in great matchups with good ballpark boosts. So I don't think that salary is going to be too much of a constraint. It's a large enough slate where there's going to be value in the bats, but there's also going to be a lot of spread out ownership just because, like I said, there are so many options at so many different price points in terms of the pitching. So we'll start with the high tier here. Yamamoto, I did put him up at the top. Now, Yamamoto, he is facing off against San Diego again. He faced off against this team in the Korea series. It did not go well for him at all. Did he make it past one inning? No, he got one inning. That was it. 5 earned runs, 43 pitches. It was a disaster. I'm just wiping that away. His first MLB start, I know, he's pitched in the pros for a long time, but first MLB start, the nerves could have been there. It was the Korea series. Who knows what was going on, but he definitely seems a lot more comfortable in these past two starts. 10 innings over those two starts, 0 earned runs, 13 strikeouts, only 2 walks, like just phenomenal. The other thing that we really like is that his pitch count is going up. It was weaker, 68 only, even in a fantastic outing against St. Louis, bumped him up to 80. Maybe he's ready to go 85 to 90 pitches at this point in time. So I do like Yamamoto. I know he got shelled, but San Diego, their offense doesn't scare me really too much at all. Gossman. Gossman is the big decision on the slate, and it's going to be how much stock do you put into his drop in velocity. So his fastball last season was topping out around 94, a little bit over north of 94 miles per hour. His last start, it dropped down to around like 91. He's lost 3 miles an hour on his fastball, which is huge and very concerning. And you add on to that, he missed a lot of spring training because he already had, arm injuries and shoulder and arm fatigue. So is this something more? Is he going to be added to that long list of dozens of pitchers who are having elbow and Tommy John surgery and shoulder fatigue, and what the list just goes on? Is he going to be added to that list soon? Or is he doing what he has shown us in years past, where he takes it a little bit easy to start the season, then he ramps up, and he's just fine? I don't know. It is concerning. The issue that we have, or the exciting part in terms of DFS and the decision making, is he's got a dream matchup facing off against the Rockies, who just strike out a ton. They're outside of Coors, one of the lowest scoring teams in the league because of that. So I don't know. There's definitely some risk to come with him. If you had No concerns about the injuries. He's going to be my SP1. If you do have a little bit of hesitation, I have a lot of hesitation. Somebody loses that much velocity on their fastball, on their pitches, and it's coming right after they just had, missed spring training because of injuries. Alarming to me. Alarming. So decide what you want to do with Gausman. Fried had a really ugly start to the season. Rough first game, got absolutely shelled. Second start, he got shelled again, but only got shelled in the first inning. He allowed 7 earned runs in his last start, but 6 of them were in the first inning. After that, he looked really well, looked really good. And now he's got a nice matchup facing off against that Miami offense, and they have nice strikeout rates up and down throughout their lineup as well. So I'm not too concerned about Fried's rough start. I do think that he's certainly in play, especially at his price tag of 8.7K. There's going to be those fantasy point per game watchers who are going to be like, oh, take him out of my player pool. Like, I'm just going to go to any other of these guys. I'm going to take Fried over Miller here at this point. I do rank him ahead of him. I just like the upside of him. I like the matchup going up against Miami here. And I like the reduced ownership that he's probably going to be getting because of it. Miller, he's fine, but I will take Fried over him. And then Peralta, I'm just a little worried about that rain in Baltimore. Obviously, he has that strikeout upside. If you're not concerned about the rain, or if the rain does seem to be, looking a lot better or clearing up, then yeah, he's fine. Big boom or bust pitcher. Going into the mid-tier, I already talked about how I really like this mid-tier, especially Abbott, Detmers, and Houck. Like, these are the three, and I think there's like a gap, and then Waka, and then I think there's like another larger gap, and then King, maybe. But Abbott and Detmers, two left-handed pitchers who are facing actually the number 1 and the number 2 teams who strike out the most against left-handed pitching. Abbott is going to be squaring off against the White Sox, right? Yeah, Abbott's squaring off against the White Sox. Detmer's facing off against Boston. Chicago White Sox are number 1 in terms of strikeouts against left-handed pitching at 31%. Boston is number 2 against strikeouts against left-handed pitching, and they're just shy of them. I think they're at like 30% flat. Boston's got a lot of those lefty bats, so facing lefty pitchers has kind of been an issue with them for a while here. Another added bonus to Detmers, if you are going that route, Boston weather, it's going to be very pitcher friendly. It's going to be very cold there, like I said, low 40s. So like Detmers, Houck, he has looked phenomenal to start the season. He's also got a great matchup going up against the Angels, Mike Trout, and then who knows what else. I will say, they've outperformed what I think that we were all expecting out of the Angels so far this season, but still, I'm not too concerned about that. I really like Houck. I just picked him up in season long, so super excited about that and what he's going to be doing. But yeah, all three of these guys, strikeout upside, solid matchups, cold weather, you got weather on your side as well. So I would not go against just picking 2 of these 3 and then going bigger in bats, because these guys are cheap. They're only 8.3, 8.2, 8.4K. Yeah, super cheap. So you get 2 of these guys. I'm just going to picking 2. 4.2K remaining for the rest of your bats. We'll just say you go cheap at catcher. I always kind of punt catcher. Now you're looking at... Now you're looking at 4.4K remaining for the remainder of your bats. So I want to hate you if you do want to stick in that mid-tier. But yeah, really like them there. Waka, he's looked really nice as well, facing off against the Mets, who just drilled Atlanta for 16 runs. Lindor, still horrendous though. He went 1 for 6 with 0 RBIs as his team has 16 runs. I don't know what's going on with Lindor, but it's caused me a lot of frustration in season long. It's another story. And then Michael King, he's got a tough matchup facing off against the Dodgers. But looking a little bit more into the stats and, historically against the Dodgers, King actually strikes out these Dodgers bats quite a bit. He has a pretty high strikeout rate against them. So I don't want to dismiss that. I will fully admit it is a smaller sample size. I think we're only talking 30 to 40 at bats to most. So to strike... The strikeout possibility is certainly there. It's just a brutal matchup. I'm 100 times out of 100. Well, maybe not 100 out of 100. You want that lower ownership and everything in tournaments. But I'm definitely going to be taking those other three guys and Waka ahead of him. But I don't want to completely dismiss him and write him off. Going into the low tier, Blackburn fought. I think that these are the two that really separate themselves, and I would say that there's like a gap, and then Wicks, Irvin, and Schmidt. Blackburn, I just really like the matchup facing off against the Nationals, and they're going to be playing in Oakland. This huge foul ball territory. This is always a big boost to the pitchers there. And then Fott, I like the strikeout upside that he can have. He's facing off against St. Louis. St. Louis should not be scaring you at all. Against right-handed bats, their WRC plus is in the 80s. Like, they're a bottom 5 offensive team so far against right-handed pitching throughout the course of the season. Fought, great control, high upside in terms of strikeouts. That's at home, nice matchup, in line, potentially probably going to be in line for the win. So I mean, he kind of like checks all the boxes of things that you're wanting and hoping for from a cheap pitcher. 7,500, don't mind paying that for him. So if you don't want to go a little bit cheaper, you want to get off of these mid guys, or you go one of the mid guys and then you go with Fod, try to get some upside there. 4.5K remaining for the rest of your bats. Salary should not be an issue at all on this entire slate. Wicks, Irvin, Schmidt, they're kind of there. Irvin, mainly because he's just dirt cheap. Going back to the DraftKings here, you can see, there we go, 5.2K. He's not going to go super deep into games. He's just kind of a guy, I don't want to say he chews up innings. Kind of does. He chews up innings. You're not going to get a whole lot of strikeouts against him. But Oakland, they've burned me so far this season. I think they're still outperforming their offensive talent. But still, 5.2K for a guy who potentially could go 6 innings, 90 pitches, get 4 or 5 strikeouts. Fine. Sure. I think he's that's a good enough spot for him to be put into your player pool. These pitchers fade, no interest. I do want to talk about Dunning here real quick. Dunning looked really, really strong. It was the Sunday night baseball game against Houston. He allowed 3 earned runs. All of them came on that Yordan Alvarez bomb to right field. Like, that thing got out in a hurry of a line drive. But that was it. Those were the only runs that he allowed all game long. He went 7 innings. I will say he did get a little lucky in terms of his BABIP and everything, but that also goes in line with the pitching skill. The issue with Dunning, he doesn't generate a whole lot of strikeouts. I think he had 7 strikeouts in that start against Houston. Let's see. Yeah, generated 7 strikeouts. He also did 7 against Tampa Bay, but I don't know. I'm still going with career numbers here. I'm not expecting 7 strikeouts out of him. It's also a back-to-back start. I have a little bit more hesitation for pitchers who are in that, facing a team a second time in a row. I do think that is advantage to the bats. So I think Houston could be really intriguing in this point in this matchup because of that. So, I mean, that's kind of where the pitching lands. Everybody else just kind of there. So yeah, so really a lot of options. Big decision. What do you think about Gausman and this massive drop in velocity on his fastball? He's in a great matchup, but I don't know. He might be injured. Mid-tier, love him. And then I mentioned I feel like there's a big gap after these 3, and then Waka, and then another big gap, and then King. And then in the cheap tier, Blackburn and Fod, and then another gap in the tier. Irvin's cheap. Schmidt's there. Watch the weather. I don't know. That's kind of it. So, yeah, thanks always for watching. I'll get these bats in probably tomorrow morning or so. I need to get some rest, kick this illness, so we can keep bringing you videos, keep bringing you content. I'll try to get a video out on Saturday for the Saturday slate for you. And then, yeah, so good luck in your contest as always. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and we will see you in the next one.